You're listening to the Practical Wealth Show with Curtis May, putting you in the driver's seat to control your finances. Let's start the Practical Wealth Talk about alternatives to Wall Street.
Welcome to the Practical Wealth Show. I wanted to record a short podcast because I had something on my mind, on my heart, that just happened recently, and I had shared this as I'm recording this. I've just gotten back from the Summit for Prosperity Economic Advisors, and I was sharing with somebody. I thought it was actually kind of funny. Where I'll say, and the title of this episode is called "Don't Die for Free," and the power of life insurance. We talk about, and you're going to hear recordings as I do this of people talking about real estate and, alternative investments we're going to get into, and, business. And we're going to cover the best way to keep your health care costs down. Don't get sick. And, you have the power to control that. So we're going to get into some research that we've done there. But I just had a situation where I had one of my young cousins, 23 years old, was gunned down here in Philly. Shot 5 times over something stupid. Some coward, apparently it was over a female. They, broke it up. The guy came back and it's cool, man. We all right. And or so we thought, and came at him to shake his hands, but instead shot him 5 times and ran away and left him out in the street, dying. He ended up passing away, in the hospital. After major surgeries, a day later or so. That is crazy. But here's the thing. So one of the things, and so as I relayed this story to somebody, and it's helpful as an advisor. At the core, to me, the core of all planning is insurance, and because you need to bet on certainty, because we're going to pass away. Now, we focus on running your personal economy like a bank, and we show people how to use insurance as a whole life insurance as the best place to store your cash. But let's talk about. I'm going to talk about for a few minutes today the death benefit. We show people how to use insurance to buy real estate and vacations and all these cool living things that you could do. But folks, we are going to die, and unfortunately, sometimes nobody is my biggest, fear is to have something happen to one of our children. But, you're going to be, I always tell people, look, don't be emotionally devastated and financially devastated. So, you have to, protect the things that are important to you, from the get-go. And so here is what I was sharing with the advisors, was that, we need people. We need to be out there, as advisors within our family, within the people that we know, that can help people through situations. Now, my cousin wasn't at the time, but she will be after, by the time this goes out, because she called me. So listen, I want you to handle all my stuff. She had a plan, and he came off the plan, at 21. And, she didn't know it, but she put him on a new plan. So by the time she got it set up, he'd been on it for, 15 months or so. And so if you don't know about insurance, there's a contestability period. It's called every policy has a 2-year contestability clause. So she called the company, and it said that. But what they heard was, it's contestable. This is not going to pay. So she called with the funeral director. Funeral director, all they heard was, we may not get paid, and he didn't want to touch it. So they had, people have to do GoFundMe's and, those type of things. That's a shame, in the community, in the community that I serve a lot, and that's ridiculous for people to have to do that kind of stuff, where you can insure that for $15, $20, $30, $100 a month, whatever you're trying to do a month. And so this person was 23. Really, arguably, they should, with a child, they should have their own. But she had a $15,000 policy on him. But here's the thing, they were seeming like it was contestable. They were going to pay. So in the midst of all this stuff, she's got to worry about, I've been paying for this thing, and now they're telling me it's not going to pay. And so by the time I got over the house, they were like, "We got to call. Where's cousin Curtis? So we got to call Curtis. He knows about this stuff." And so I was able to couldn't do it that night because it was later. But the next morning, we were able to call the company, put her on speaker. Contestable means that if it's within, just so you know, the 2 years, they will investigate it, because if you lied on the app, you misstated something, you had cancer, but you knew it, and you didn't disclose it, they'll just give you back all the money for your policy, right? And or if you committed a felony, if you were insured but you were, you know, dealing drugs, or you robbed a bank, or you involved in some that, or you committed suicide. Well, or for the old people say, oh, I don't want insurance on somebody, and oh, my wife's going to kill me because I got all this insurance. Well, don't worry, insurance doesn't pay if you do that. With there's foul play, because they're going to investigate. Nobody's going to give away money without, oh, you're a nice guy, let's just, here's a check. That's not how it works. So, but none of that was the case. So that claim is going to get paid. So I'm helping her, file, make sure that we file it correctly, and basically helping her do the paperwork and get it out there, because she's a little confused by the whole thing. And so I'm thankful that I know how to do this, that I can help people, with this stuff. Unfortunately, I've paid 10 or 12 of these in my career. So people do die with this stuff. And I was telling young advisors, I said, look, this is not a joke. Okay, and I don't want to be the one in there to take a little check. If you've got family and you're working, you've got to look at what your human life value is. Because a lot of people say, well, I got 100,000 or I got 200,000, but you making $50,000-$60,000 a year. That is nothing. Okay, and so you're underinsured. If you look at your human life value, if you were in 9/11, if you look at the how they sell the cases, they use a formula called human life value. What is the money that you will make over your productive working lifetime? And then they create claims based upon that. Well, why do they think you're worth more than you think you're worth? So I would dare say most people are underinsured. And so you have the ability to make sure that your family, your kids, the charities that are important to you, with a stroke of a pen, you can create lump sums of tax-free wealth. And so now you started with what you're trying to do, which is create a legacy for your family, and you can do it with leverage. And so, where fortunately I was able to going back to the story, help her solve her, at least put her peace of mind, where at least she didn't have to worry about that stuff. I could, do my part. I'm not going to fry chicken and bring it over, but, I can help out with my expertise. And I said, because I'm not one to come over crying and all that kind of stuff. I always joke that I went to the John Shaft School of Sensitivity. But she knows I love her and I care. But she says, look, cause I don't need that. I need you clear-headed so you can help me with this stuff. I got other people that are doing that aspect, so I do what I do. And so they know that about me. Call me Mr. Spock. And so we're able to help with that. So I felt really good that, and I've done that, with other clients and with, friends and neighbors they know I've done that stuff. And, we're able to help that. And I told the advisors, somebody has to be that go-to person in the community, in your family. For starters, in my family, that was my father. My father was a successful business person. We owned a supermarket in Philly. My grandfather was in business. So I always tell people I never got that go to school. I'll talk about this later. Get a good job talk. My dad said you'd never make any money work for somebody else, but he was successful. My grandfather, so they were kind of like my cousin told me, the patriarch, yeah, of the May family, in terms of, successful, of perceived knowledge. They were actually, both very learned, from a practical standpoint, wise people, successful people, with a lot of common sense and a lot of savvy. So that was, I'd be blessed that I'm trying to carry that legacy in and keep pass that on to our kids, because it's not even just about money. When you talk about a legacy or wealth, you got to pass on wealth and wisdom, right? And so if you how you know so how are you capturing that? How are you passing down the stories within your family? One time I was listening to Tom Joyner. There was a guy on there talking about, he had somebody in his family that had not missed a day of work in something like crazy, like 45 years or 50 years, not even late. And that missed a day, he wasn't even late. And so, and I'm sure, you have colds, you have sickness, you have things going in your family. But see, so if you know that, that's a legacy of, of toughness, that, you've got to show up. Half of winning is showing up, And so I'll tell my kids, I say, listen, I just need a mental health day. Listen, what? You don't have no problems. Get your behind up and get to work, because half of winning is showing up. And sometimes we do, but I want them to understand that you've got to be tough. You've got to have a legacy of toughness. But the main thing and the point of this talk was to understand that you need to look at your make sure you need to, one, so here's a couple of lessons, right? One, don't just have insurance on your job. All right, that's the first thing. I look at that as a supplement. You need to have your own plan, because I always tell people you can get fired for any of two reasons, any reason or no reason at all. And so a lot of times the coverage is not, here's the word, portable. It can't go with you. You got group insurance, or if it does go with you, it can't go with you at the same price. And so what people take for granted is that you'll be insurable. I wanted to I'm going to upgrade mine, but I was after this, we've got, I tell people, look, we've got, a lot, but I want more. I always tell people I want my kids to make money the really old-fashioned way. I want them to inherit it, right? And because poverty is no great creator of character, right? Last time I checked. And so we want to be able to, like it says in the Bible, a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. So while you're out there building your business, trying to make your fortune, well, what if you don't make it? Well, insurance makes sure that happens. Insurance is a love product, and it's the only thing that guarantees, okay, that what you want to happen will happen. All right, so you start with that. You have to start your plan with certainty. All right, and you begin with the end in mind. So you lay that as your foundation. Now, so you got to make sure that you want to make sure that we help people solve for, the first thing is human life value. All right, and so people say, well, what kind should you get? Should you get term? Should you get this and that? Is it what's better? Look, it's yes and yes. Should you have term? Yes. If your goal and right now your budget allows you to only get the most you can. So here's term insurance. You want to get if your need right now is to get the most coverage you can for the least amount of money, well, what solves that problem? Term. Okay. Now, that's only in a short period, because most people outlive the 20 or 30 years, so it's going to go up. When it goes up, you probably ain't going to be able to afford it. But you start with that because you can always convert it, just to not to get too insurancy, but you can convert it over. We like whole life over index universal life, some other stuff that you'll hear about in other sources, because I like certainty. I like guarantees, and so I don't. I know how that works. I know it gets more efficient, and it's a great place to store cash. So we generally help people do both, and we just tend to use the whole life as a place we generally solve for minimum death benefit, maximum accumulation. So we usually solve for, how little insurance you can get as up to IRS regulations, and then we overfund it, so it becomes a very efficient cash accumulation tool. But there's nothing wrong with term. Okay, so don't anybody tell you different. It's never the product. It's always about the strategy. What problem are you trying to solve? And so you need to, I don't really believe in buy term investor difference anymore, because that's stupid. Once you, I hate to say it, I come out of that world. So I used to be evangelical about buy term investor difference. I was a regional vice president for 12 years with a company that did that. But I'm going to tell you, what some people call the theory of decreased responsibility, that doesn't work, because once you understand estate planning, with theory of decreasing responsibility says that in the early years you need a lot of coverage, which is true because you don't have any money. But in the later years, as your savings and investments grow, that you'll become self-insured and you can let your insurance go. That's ridiculous. All right. First of all, that's based on the assumption the stock market always goes up, and it's also a myth of self-insurance. And so that is we'll have another talk where I go in that in detail, or call me if you have a question about that. But that is, you never not need insurance. All right. And what you want to do is have both. Okay. And insurance, well, I'm not going to go there, but basically, you want to have both. So because I've had most people don't die within a term. Less than 1% of term policies pay off because people outlive the term. Insurance companies know that. So they're going to collect premiums 3 or 4 years on something that's not going to pay. And that's what's the ROI on that? You're collecting money that you never have to pay out on, and then people drop the daggone thing. So that's the reality. Those are statistics. So, but people do, and I've paid those. Okay, and so it's important. So, folks, you've got to begin with the end in mind. Yes, you need to save, and you need to invest. So which is another talk. So you got to save from income, invest from assets, but you need to play defense from the get-go. And make sure that you look at your coverages. Make sure how you have your beneficiaries designated to where you want them to go. If you've got a second marriage, you need to check your beneficiaries to make sure is your coverage going where you want it to go to your kids, grown kids, whatever. You need to look at all that kind of stuff. So with that, I just wanted to share a little, short lesson just on something that I'm experiencing. I'm helping people through right now. And those are the, some of the things, and it's not exciting, right? To me, it's exciting, but, everybody wants to talk about, I want to hear, should I invest in Alibaba? Should I do this and that? Listen. You need to start with the basics, and you need to learn how to use a football expression. You got to learn how to block and tackle. So as you build your personal economy, as you grow your personal economy, you need to start with defense. Okay, defense. You need to manage your cash flow. You need to eliminate non-preferred debt. You need to make sure that you have adequate protection from the door, and you have an emergency fund. See, I don't even want to talk about. You don't even talk to me about any of that stuff till you have that in place, because you don't have a solid foundation for your financial house. So with that, I want to just record a short episode. So the power of this: don't die for free. The power of life insurance. Check out Practical Wealth. You can give me an email out to kurtmay@gmail.com, and I'll send you a white paper. We have on the power of this, and understanding the different types of insurance and the power of what you can do with this stuff. And so I just want to get this out there. Hopefully this will be helpful. It's just something that I'm going through, and I know that a lot of people have had death in their family, and some of people where they've had to have GoFundMes and all kinds of stuff that's just absolutely unnecessary. So, not to end on a down note, but you guys, you have a great day, and keep listening for our next episode.
Thanks for listening to Practical Wealth. To access the show notes and resources, go to practicalwealthshow.com. To get your questions on the show, go to practicalwealthshow.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before you make any investment decisions, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Practical Wealth. Written permission must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting.